Alright guys, it is Chris here with Crew3 Podcast, and today we're bringing you a little deck tech on a Possibility Storm combo here. Again, if you haven't checked us out, please check us out on your favorite podcast streaming service. We're Crew3 Podcast, wherever you get your podcasts, and also now on YouTube, as you guys can see. I'll put my social on the bottom of the screen here. Again, today we're talking about this Possibility Storm combo deck, a deck that's been around since pretty early on in Pioneer. If you are not familiar, our objective is going to be to get a Possibility Storm in play, shown here. We're then going to use that to cast one of the adventure cards from the Eldraine set. These are creatures everywhere except for the stack, so our deck contains no sorceries other than these. We're going to use these to cast a sorcery. The only other sorcery card in our deck that can be got with Possibility Storm is Enter the Infinite. So we're going to draw our entire deck, put one card back. That card is going to be Borborygmos Enraged. Alright, so with that in our deck, we're going to cast a Walking Ballista for 0. It's going to trigger Possibility Storm. The only creature left in our deck is Borborygmos, which is what we will get. We will then discard as many lands as necessary to destroy our opponent, dealing them as much damage as possible. There's a couple ways we're going to get there. We're going to get there using our Gilded Goose and Sylvan Caryatid for some acceleration. We've got some removal in the course of Fatal Push and a couple of Murderous Riders over here to destroy creatures or planeswalkers, and then just beat dudes. This is an instance, Swift in, so it does actually not trigger our Possibility Storm. That's something to consider. Then we're playing some weird ones here. We're playing one of my favorite cards, if you've listened to the podcast, Wishclaw Talisman. I am constantly joking that this card has to be broken, so we're going to try and use it here to get the combo pieces that we might need. And most of the time, you are fine just like activating it and playing Possibility Storm in the same turn, because whatever they're trying to cast that they get with their spell, they get with Wishclaw Talisman, will be Possibility Stormed into something else of the same type. So one thing to note is that, like, if you're playing against an Inverter deck, most of their sorceries make you discard cards, like a Thoughtseize or a Thought Eraser is the other card. So but most of the time, you're fine with giving that. Notably, like, not that you're trying to play this deck competitively, but if you were, Spirits cannot counter this. And then, obviously, the Into the Infinite can't be countered by Spell Queller either. But just in case we want to, we can use this Costly Plunder to sacrifice our Wishclaw Talisman with the ability on the stack, meaning we still get to go get whatever card we need. Hopefully it's a combo piece to win the game, but if need be, if we have our combo pieces, we can get a Fatal Push or a Murderous Rider to save ourselves from dying, and then they will not get the Wishclaw Talisman because it'll be sacrificed to our Costly Plunder. We're playing a couple cards to make the Costly Plunder a little bit better, in like a Gilded Goose, and then obviously the Curious Pair as a selection to both help us gain life because they make food, but also to make artifacts to sacrifice to Costly Plunder in case that's what we need to be doing. If you draw both Into the Infinites, we don't have a way to win the game. You can mitigate that by building this deck a little bit differently, maybe shaving some Possibility Storms and playing Rankle, which I'll put at the bottom of the screen here, and then either a Bow of Nylea or like Elixir of Immortality, so that you can discard Into the Infinite if you've drawn both of them, and then shuffle them back in your deck. To mitigate that, we're going to try and do some scrying, though. So we've got a couple of temples. As clunky as they are, they will help us maybe try and scry or Enter the Infinite to the bottom in case we're going to draw them. Or Treasure Map, both to do the same thing, scry away or Into the Infinites, and then ramp us once we get our Treasure Cove into play. We can either draw cards, or we could just use the treasures themselves to ramp us, because a big thing this deck wants to do is ramp into its game-ending ability, because it's pretty consistent once you get there. You can also cast up to one Walking Ballista just for value, to try and save your life if need be. And you do get a lot of interesting cards out of the sideboard and have some kind of interesting interactions there. So obviously Fry is really good to stop any of the Jace actions going on. Chandra is a convenient way to potentially deal with some spirits or any other tribal effects. You've got a Scavenging Ooze you could potentially play to interact with opposing graveyards. Slaughter Games, this is kind of a tricky one because it is a sorcery. So this can be gotten if we're trying to go off in combo. But the idea here is like anytime you're playing this Slaughter Games, it needs to be like winning you the game or making your opponents that they cannot win the game in a very, very long period of time that you have to try and get our combo off. So we're going to maybe fetch that up with our Wishclaw Talisman. Is our first thought, maybe just playing one of to immediately get, you know, an Inverter of Truth out of our opponent's deck, or if they're on the same deck, get the Possibility Storm, whatever we need to be doing, and then, you know, giving them the Wishclaw Talisman back, if we activate it that way, is fine, because they are going to be too slow to win the game to get it. We will get it back one more time because it comes in with 3, so we activate it, they activate it, we activate it, if they want to play that game, and then, again, our combo just wins the game from there, so that's going to be pretty strong. So, Slaughter Games, or any sorcery you choose to put in the sideboard, something you need to watch out for, something you need to be tutoring first, because you cannot get this combo going off if you flip into it with this here. If you guys do want to try some other cards, one card worth maybe considering could be our Boreal Grazer, because it does ramp you, and that card does have reach to block some flyers. That can be relevant, again, not that you take this deck to a super competitive environment, but if you wanted to and have some fun, that's a card you might consider. Gilded Goose also has flying and can block some spirits if need be. Your guys block pretty effectively. Lovestruck Beast cannot attack unless you control a 1/1, but he can block always. So that's something you want to be considering when you're playing this deck, is, you know, basically trying to survive as long as possible until we can get our combo off, made easier by our Wishclaw Talisman. Guys, one more sideboard card that maybe we're talking about is Leyline of the Void. Just one you might consider against graveyard decks in general. Pretty strong there, I suppose, but may or may not be worth messing around with. Obviously, I don't have the sideboard exacties. These are just one-ofs that I thought might be interesting to take a look at, and depending on what your local meta game is, again, you can choose specific cards to best tackle that. Again, just keep in mind that a lot of the sorcery speed mass removal that's available is a sorcery and does not necessarily work unless you're going to tutor it up first to like have a game-winning Storm's Wrath or Languish or something like that that you think might be good. Something that's much better out of the board than in game 1, where if you have to tutor for that first against a deck that does not play creatures or plays very few of them, might not be as good. Alright guys, well that is it for us today. Thank you for watching our Possibility Storm deck tech. Again, there are a lot of versions you can build with this deck. Some fun ones that involve playing the Teferi, the 3-mana Teferi, which locks your opponent out from casting spells because they can only cast spells as sorcery. So, interesting other versions out there if you guys want to toy with them. But again, here's my version featuring some Wishclaw Talisman. Again, if you guys want to reach out to us, you can do so on Twitter. You can find us on Spotify. We also have a Discord out now that you guys can find on our main Twitter account. We hope to interact with you guys some there. Please suggest us some videos or whatnot that you guys want us to do next.